What's going on, beautiful people out there, on my really dope independent artists and all my creative family? I want to welcome you guys to class. Of course, this is Flight School. Name presents Flight School. And I am Nathan Driz Johnson. I'm your personal marketing and branding specialist. Now, we're getting into this. We're getting really into this. We are doing this brand new series. We did part one um, the other day, and now we're doing part two because we just have a lot to unpack here when it comes to moving from a 9 to 5 to a full time artist in 2026. And this is the reality check series. So I'm issuing everybody reality checks so that we can cash these bad boys and live off of it, right? Because I believe that you guys can do it. If you have a great product, you have the skill, you have the talent, you know what I'm saying? You can do this. You know what I'm saying? Now, how do you do that? Now, that's how we're kind of getting into and what we're trying to get into. I want to start it off about giving reasons. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I think I said a little bit in the last video. I want to give a little bit more of like a reason of like why did I put this together? You know what I'm saying? Because of the scale. Because it's some of us are in a place in which we have the product but we never perform or we hardly ever perform, right? Others, if you move down the scale, we're in a space in which we're always performing. You know what I'm saying? That's how we kind of like we got to a place when we're making a living off of just performing, which is a great aspect. Um, I had an artist client that I was working with, and then he was like, "Man, I got so many gigs. I'm out here in Detroit, but I'm booked in Hawaii, and I got this and I got that, and then I'm back in California." I was like, "Okay, cool. What's the budget looking like?" "Oh, I ain't got that, man. You know what I'm saying? I ain't making a lot from the shows." I'm like, "But if you book, you got 50 shows, and I understand like you have to do at a point in which you are, giving out free stuff, you know what I'm saying? And maybe you go on somewhere to perform free. But at some point, you want to invest into this and then reap it. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of that is in catching the fire. When you start to catch on fire, people start noticing the gifts and wanting the songs and when you come out to perform and everything. Capture that fire. Because I think, and I chalk it up to some of it just being him being young, but what you don't understand is like you're not gonna be hot forever. So you want to utilize that fire, to take it to the next level. But to get back to my original point, you don't want to be in a place which, you want to capture the fire and be everything. The reason you want to capture that fire is because you don't want to perform to pay the bills, right? Drake had a line in one of his old time songs in which he said, rapping to pay the bills, right? And some of us, we made it to the point where people will pay us to rap. But we doing it because we need groceries. We doing it because we want our DTE bill to stay on top, which is great. You know what I'm saying? It's good stuff. However, when you do that, I feel like it pulls from your creativity, right? You stop having a passion for what you do, and start resenting it because now it becomes the 9 to 5. So you went to a full-time artist only to go back to a 9 to 5 because now you're forced to make music, and not just the music you want, but you gotta stay up with the trends. You gotta change every Sunday in every way. Why? You know what I'm saying? Because you have to do what is current because what's current is what's selling. And maybe you don't be the unique, different artist that you are anymore. You got to copy and be like so and so because he's selling now and you're not selling it as much. So you can't be as creative as possible. You can't be as passionate about music. You got to be passionate about paying them bills, right? Getting a check, which, excuse me, whatever place that will give you a check, that's where you're at because you're singing now to pay the bills. You know what I'm saying? And you don't want that. So I wanted to create this series so that we will understand where the money's coming from, right? We will understand how do I make this a business. I am a business, so how do I step fully into those shoes and whatnot? And the last one, we ran out a whole bunch of, and I'm gonna say this again to probably at the end, of stuff that I believe that you should invest in, to uh create this business and to be able to be impactful and effective with this business. Whole long line of things that I believe that you need to pay for, right? You're gonna need to pay for some stuff, right? Um, so I'm now at the end of this, I'm gonna bring up this point again, but specifically, if you're like, yo, I'm a country singer, I just dropped a project, or I'm about to drop a project, but before I drop this project or release this project, what are you telling me I need to specifically pay for? Because I do the budget reports. I was doing a budget report for one of my clients, and I said I looked through some stuff, combed through some stuff, and I was like, these are the playlists that you need to pay to get on, and these are the things you need to pay for: the boosting, the websites, what I'm saying. These are the sites you need to get. You need to use this tool. I was very specific, and then I told him what it was, and I told him how much it cost, so he knew exactly how much money to put aside from his 9 to 5. We're talking about being effective. We're talking about being effective. So he knew exactly how much he needed to pay down, what I'm saying, so that he could move his product, right? And I could do that for you guys as well too. Just jump on a free consultation call. Is either going to be in this link right here or down in the description below, or both. You know what I'm saying? And you guys can connect with me on my website. There's a free consultation button. You find a time for us, and I connect with you. You know what I'm saying? We'll chop it up, and I can get that to you. Okay, commercial out the way. I wanted to talk to you guys about that. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want you just rapping to pay the bills. I don't want you to have that mentality. I want you to have a CEO mentality when it's coming to your gift, your talent, right? The other thing is, we know what to do if Drake comes to our house and gives us a contract. We know how to make money, but I wanted to make a series so that you'll know how to make it without having a cosign. Truly important. All right, we were talking a little bit about taglines and how important that is, and we ran over a couple, and I wanted to give more examples on it. Forgive me if you hear repeated, information, but I'm trying to really bring this thing on home. All right, so the funny thing about it is we all know one of the most famous um taglines comes from Nike. Nike always says, just do it, right? That came from like a marketing company. When Nike started to put out their products and they started to lose money, or I think they hit a wall. So they hired a marketing company to come up with a phrase. And the phrase was just do it. You know what I'm saying? And it took their sales from 1 million to 1 billion, right? And that's crazy. But just those 3 words printed out on a white shirt with a check took them from being millionaires to billionaires. You know what I'm saying? Some of us, we not even 100 years, right? But just imagine going from 100 years to a millionaire, because that's what you're supposed to be. But you're down here. You know what I'm saying? I think I even talked about our phrasing as far as like letting you know what New Altitude Media is, because we always tell you that we help you build your brand, find your audience, and be effective. Because those are the things that we know that a lot of our clients and consumers want. I talked about some of the others that I have did, and what I'm saying, help to do. Um, let's look at some taglines even from food places where KFC used to be, "We do chicken right," right? And the taglines go with your brand, right? It's important because, like I said before, you make money off of your brand these days, not just music. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's a lot more difficult, and you need somebody to kind of walk you through it. And your tagline speaks about your brand. It tells people who you are basically and what they can expect from you, because people don't trust new artists because it's like, I don't know what to expect from you. You know what I'm saying? So I rather stick with artists that I do know of versus giving a chance to artists that I don't, and then forget about buying their stuff because I don't know them. I need to get to know their music and what they bring to the table. So KFC, it said we do chicken right, which means don't come over here looking for steak. Don't come over here looking for pizza. We do chicken right, right? So there is a implying, of like what they do and what they do it, what I'm saying, the best of it all, right? There now is like our chicken is finger looking good, you know what I'm saying? Type of thing. Burger King used to be, and I think they still are, have it your way. You rule, right? So you can come to us and you can get it like the way you want to get it, right? So it's like don't come to us asking for too much structure, you know what I'm saying? Because you're in charge here. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I like to be the boss. I like to be, a CEO. I like to be in charge. So I can go here and be in charge and get what I want. These little phrases bring people in to the degree of like they can know what to trust and what's going on, because you got to think about it. Of course, you're not going to go anywhere that you don't know what to expect. Just like I said before, when you look at the music, I think one of the best ones is DJ Khaled. DJ Khaled say we the best, right? So he not even saying you the best, but he's saying we, my team, are the best. And like I said before, like some of these phrasing and stuff, like they imply a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. Like it's a lot of us. You know what I'm saying? But when you think about DJ Khaled, he's a solo artist. However, we talked about this before. When you listen to his music, it almost like you listen to a group. You don't listen. You know what I'm saying? Because DJ Khaled is not on the record by himself. You know what I'm saying? He's always there with somebody else. So you are listening to a we, not a me, not an I, right? So you don't even think about it, but he run around and said, we the best. So you're going to listen to my music like we are a group. You know what I'm saying? But also, you're going to look at us as we are top tier, because we not the mediocres. We're not the regular. We don't come in second best or second place. We the best, right? So it already puts your mindset into, if you're listening to us, then you're listening to the best. Don't you want to listen to the best? Don't you want to rock the best clothes, have the best jewelry, have the best cars? Yeah, well, put in the best music too. You know what I'm saying? Like we are the top notch. It almost implies that if you want to be the best, you will listen to us, right? It almost plays with your mind. Once again, you're listening to marketing, you're listening to branding. You know what I'm saying? You're listening to a tagline. I love me some Master P. We talk about it over and over again. You're no limit soldiers. Just in that word alone, no limit. You know what I'm saying? That means we can't be boxed. We can't be captured. You know what I'm saying? And lots of times like we are no limit soldier. That means we're going to war and you can't stop us, right? You want to feel unstoppable, you listen to our music, Um DJ, not DJ, Rick Ross. Every time his music, when he was hitting and creating a movement with Maybach music, you always heard that. Once again, in the phrasing of the name, Maybach music, one of the most prestige cars and fancy cars. And so a lot of the packaging of Rick Ross was upscale, money, luxury, first class, right? Maybach music, music that you will listen to if you're first class, if you're fancy, if you have expensive taste, you know what I'm saying? But yet still hood, right? Right? So you have that implied there within your taglines. Last one, Kanye West. Good music. I believe it's getting out our dreams, right? Which Kanye West is probably one of the most creative person. And remember, here we're talking about products. We're talking about artistry. We're not talking about other stuff. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, he's letting you know. You know what I'm saying? Once again, this is good music. You know what I'm saying? This is good. This is not bad. This is good music, and we are getting out our dreams. Aren't you getting out your dreams? So these little taglines that hip hop artists or music artists use in their music, it really have effect on the listeners, within just the word playing of all things. When we looked at Master P, we saw a tank strong. You know what I'm saying? You look at Drake's owl. You know what I'm saying? Wise, a bird which is flying high. Something to look up at. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about these logos, because I think logos are a great way of becoming, allowing your brand and your music to be omnipresent, right? So when we think about soldiers, we think about No Limit. When you now think about an owl, you can think about Drake. You know what I'm saying? Being high above. You know what I'm saying? The competition. Um, and you think about Eminem. I've seen some with him using the Jason mask. You know what I'm saying? With looking like a dangerous person. The backward E. You know what I'm saying? The way he spells Eminem versus the Candy Way. The Candy Way are just the letters, but with him, he spells his name really different, and he turns around his E. I remember talking to one of my clients at the time, and we were looking at his different fonts for his name, and he said, "I don't want that E. That's an Eminem E." You know what I'm saying? Well, Eminem, I don't think has pattern over a letter, but it's the styling of it that when he saw that E, he thought about Eminem. You want to create a logo or a font that you consistently use that will allow people to think about you. Now, this is just free marketing. You know what I'm saying? With it all, you ain't got to pay for an E that is blue. All you have to do is every time you put up anything, you know what I'm saying? It's a blue E. And then every time somebody looks at a blue E or thinks about an E in a different way, they can think about you and then think about your music and say, yo, I want to hear one of his songs. Advertisement. Advertisement. You didn't have to put out a commercial. You didn't have to email that person. You didn't have to run an ad. Boom. All they saw was a letter that you kept putting out that played in their brain. And now people come to you every time they see the letter E. You know what I'm saying? Every time they see the color blue, they put it together and they think about you, right? So because advertisement, the power of it is to make people think about you, but you can do that being consistently, and that costs you no money to just, to always put that type of E font on all of your stuff. You know what I'm saying? All right, I'm gonna let that go. Okay, so I think as artists, we don't really, I say this all the time, I said this even in this, about, you know what I'm saying, people like artists don't make money off their music anymore. They make it off their brand, right? Um, and the reason I say that now, there's a lot of reasons you can look at, but because you have to understand that your music is valuable, but how to use it in such a way that brings you money, right? And that's a lot of, when it comes to music and stuff like that, that's a lot of the within the branding in itself, right? um and I was hearing this story, this artist talked about, how music is valuable, but not in a way a lot of people think, right? He says, like, think about a club, right? They pay you to come and perform, but they are mainly using your music to get people in. They're not specifically selling you, they're selling drinks, they're selling atmosphere, right? So they're using what you use as leverage. You are part of what we call the funnel of awareness. So it's like, I never heard of this club before, but because Jeezy's playing at it, I'm going to go there and I'm going to buy a drink. I'm going to, entryway in. Um, So your music is more leverage, you know what I'm saying, for people to more of a draw. Like I said, more of awareness. You're part of the funnel of awareness because in business, there's a the basic funnel is awareness, consideration, conversion, and loyalty. So for their business, they are using you to attract people. But the business wasn't the if you're not there, the business could still exist, right? So like you're there to help the business, you know what I'm saying? Not the other way around, right? So that's why it's like you have to know how to leverage your music in order to what are you really selling with? You know what I'm saying? To bring in and putting it in a place where you can get money back from it. You know what I'm saying? Um, I think also what you really sell is a philosophy. You're selling a philosophy in your music, right? If you look at any music, you know, it sells. Let's look at Tupac, you know what I'm saying? One of the most iconic hip hop artists around. Or even, yeah, we'll do Pac. He had a thing called Thug Life. Him and NWA and stuff like that. They sold this gangster mentality, philosophy. Let's stay with Tupac for a minute. Thug Life. That's a philosophy. It's not just a tagline either, because it's that too, but it's a way of living. The whole thing of Jeezy and Trap or Die, the energy that brings to the philosophy that brings that comes along with their music is like stay fresh. You know what I'm saying? Dress a certain way. You know what I'm saying? Stay motivated. Get out there. Get that money. So when you catch that philosophy, you ain't got to be from the hood. You could be from the suburbs. You know what I'm saying? You could be on Wall Street. You know what I'm saying? You could be a doctor. You know what I'm saying? You can be a lawyer. You could be anything because the philosophy there is thug motivation. You know what I'm saying? It's in the music in itself. You know what I'm saying? To be a thug is to be, or a gangster is to be a hardcore human being, right? Take nothing type of human being is not even the criminal anymore. It's used as a word of strength and power. So it's like when you are phrasing everything you're phrasing and looking like in your music, you are preaching basically a philosophy to the listener. You know what I'm saying? That when they like your music, they be like, I want to be a thug too. I want to be a trapper. You know, I want to be a dope boy too, or whatever the case may be. I want to be a hustler too. Hustler used to be on a street corner. Now it's in Wall Street. You know what I'm saying? Now it's in a corporate building. You know what I'm saying? Um, because hustling now means, you know what I'm saying, doing business, you know what I'm saying, on a large scale. It's a philosophy, you know what I'm saying, that was started off on the corners, but now it's in some of the biggest boardrooms and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Be a gangster, same thing. It's a philosophy that people connect to. So you sell a philosophy, you sell an atmosphere. When you think about like Christian music, right? Gospel music, uh, um, uh, holy hip hop, Christian music. This music sets an atmosphere. What atmosphere does your music set? And I'll run it back. Christian music sets an atmosphere, right? It gives a place where people connect with something greater than themselves, right? That's the atmosphere it creates. You know what I'm saying? Then you have other artists who are, I guess, secular or worldly artists. You create an atmosphere of sex, right? So your music is all about to get people to baby making music. You know what I'm saying? That's your style. You know what I'm saying? And there was artists Drew Hill and a lot of R. Kelly and some other artists where you like, yo, if I want to get the party started, you know what I'm saying? My girl coming over, my guy coming over, you know what I'm saying? I want to put music that sets the tone to what I want to have happen, right? What in your music, what is your music sets the tone for? You know what I'm saying? We're just talking about God, something higher. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about sex. We're talking making money. You know what I'm saying? Getting, you know what I'm saying, buck wild. You know what I'm saying? Just jumping up around. You know what I'm saying? Like there's music out there that's a screamer type of music. You just letting it all out. because sometimes we need to let loose. You know what I'm saying? We need to come out of our shirts. We need music that energizes us. And maybe that's the atmosphere that you create. Because my question is, what type of atmosphere do you create? And then now that you know it, you can throw events and partner with people who connect with that. So if you have even Playboy Cardi, you know what I'm saying? His stuff is wilding out type of music. You know what I'm saying? Ravers type of music. You know what I'm saying? Like, so maybe he can connect with an energy drink. You know what I'm saying? Because both are those types of energies. You know what I'm saying? And they blend together and you make a deal with that. Right? What type of atmosphere do you do? You know what I'm saying? What do you were selling with that? When it comes down to even like what else do you sell? You have to think out the box, but yet you have to look at what is trendy. You know what I'm saying? What is coming back to life now is vinyl. I'm trying to get my clients to like, yo, get on this wave because now vinyl's coming back. All right, so skip streaming. You know what I'm saying? People are buying vinyl albums that's $20 to $30, maybe even more. So you can possibly take that money, put it into buying vinyls, and sell it overseas and make some bread. I always say too, like when you look at, I'll do it in another video. But when you look at, Spotify and Apple Music, no, you don't make any money off of that. But if you look at it as a way of not just marketing yourself, but awareness, getting your music out there so that people will get to know you and hear you and stuff like that, and then say, hey, buy the vinyl, that's $30. Now you will essentially put up 5 songs, 10 songs that you might have possibly did $10 worth. You know what I'm saying? Now you got 3 times that much, right? Because you now got on vinyl. um I saw Cardi B selling the vinyl. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, it is about that now. You know what I'm saying? So stay on what is coming up next because that's what you want to sell. I always tell my lastly, when we're on this thing of like what are we really selling? When we understand that atmosphere and stuff, use your lives, right? People I think us as artists, we overlook the power of the live, right? When we are utilizing our channels and then allowing people to connect with us in some ways that we can use subscription form, exclusivity, and just different ways to just bring people into our world. You know what I'm saying? It's such a powerful, powerful, powerful thing. Um, so use your lives. You know what I'm saying? People use their lives all the time for stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? That way you can connect. When we were doing the 2020, everybody's in there in their room. That's what we were doing. You know what I'm saying? So bring that back because look, that's a good way to connect with people. We'll dive into lives and how to use it more so in a different video. Um, but let me finish up here with talking about the value. Because we're talking about selling. But nowadays, music, like I said before, is more so given away for free and looked at as like a free thing versus a real thing of understanding the greatness of the art, right? It's almost like it's watered down now because we don't know how to use our streaming distribution platforms to bring attention to us. Like I was saying before with the whole club thing, like music is there as awareness to sell drinks. So if you have to use your music to sell something else, to be impactful or put attention on something else in order for you to make a living, in order for you not to be rapping to pay the bills, right? And that's called pairing, and we're going to get into that on a different video as well too. But let's look at, like I said, the value. So there was a story. I think it was like 2017, 2018. There was a lady down south. She went to a garage sale and she saw this painting. And she was like, the painting is okay, but I really want the frame. And the lady was like, no, you got to buy both. And it was like, oh my gosh. So it's a garage sale, you know what I'm saying? So she paid like $15 for it, this old painting. And she went home and she was like, this is nice, but I really like the frame of it. And she put it on the back of her door. She didn't even put it like in a acceptable space. You know what I'm saying? She just put it on the back of her door and allowed it to just kind of be there. Okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? Her friend comes by, looks at it, and she says, "That's a pretty old painting." And she had it at this point for 3 years. And she said, "Why don't you go get it appraised?" And it was appraised for $3 million, right? $3 million. But because they didn't know the worth, they didn't know the value of something, they misused it. You know, they looked over it because of where it came from. They thought like because it came from a yard sale that it wasn't worth anything. They thought the environment spoke about the value of what was in the painting. You guys have value on your music, right? But if you don't know how to use it and leverage it and what it's there for, you will be putting it up and not making money off it when it's worth millions of dollars, right? So we have to understand that. We have to understand, and I like these sites. You know what I'm saying? There's some really cool sites in which they say, pay whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? And I go back and forth with those types of sites because my thinking is like, yeah, I like the idea that I'm getting something. You know what I'm saying? I may not be getting a whole dollar for my song, but I'll take the nickel. But you have to understand too, like on some aspects of that, is that we put a lot into our music. And if you go into a a dealership for a Royce, right? That car ain't going on discount. Like they not you go in there like, let me get that car, and they're gonna say it's half a mil, I don't know, let's say half a mil. They not gonna say let us discount it, let me put it down, let me mark it down for you so you can buy it because they really want you to buy this car. And you're like, nah, man, I ain't buying no half. But what if I got $10? I can give you $10. They ain't gonna say sold. No, they're gonna say if you not willing to pay, you in the wrong place because this car is worth a half a mil. And so I ask my clients sometimes this question, and I think it's a trick question. I say, "How much are you worth? How much is your music worth? How much is your merch worth? How much do you want to charge for a show?" At some point, think about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, do the math on it. You know what I'm saying? Or do how many shows or whatever, and get as specific as possible to recoup the money that you want to make. Because at some point, you want to charge that because you have envisioned you being successful. But once again, if you don't envision it, it'll never happen. And when you know what atmosphere you can create, then you know where you can go to connect with vendors and booking agents that can do that, and you know what you're feeding your consumers, your new and your old fans. You know how to package it out, for it all. Now, you want to look at the stuff of your songs, your show, your merch, but also you want to make sure, and this goes back to being copywritten. You know what I'm saying? That you copyright your name, that you have an LLC, so that when you put your name on something, once again, you can get money from it. Have you tested the marketplace? Try tested groups, test groups. You know what I'm saying? A/B testing. Start putting your music out there in such a way that if you are going to do it out there for free, that you will, it's only out there so that you can know the value and how much people will pay for it. You know what I'm saying? People come around, man, I love this song. Great. Will you pay $1 for it? I love this album. Great. Would you pay $5 for it? You know what I'm saying? To gauge what you bring into people's life so you can start pricing it. You know what I'm saying? Because if you know the problem it solves and you know what type of atmosphere, you can be like, yo, if you Want to be in an atmosphere of nothing but energy, it'll cost you $25. That's what you're selling. You know what I'm saying? You're selling the atmosphere. If you want to be in a place where you get laid, I'm gonna be doing baby making music. You know what I'm saying? Next Saturday at the Key Club, it costs $10. It costs $15. Right? So you understand that you are charging once again for the atmosphere. Um, I think when using test groups and free music, like I said, those are the ways I would use it. Understanding what is willing to be paid. You know what I'm saying? But understanding even your value goes into your rollouts. All right, and I'm just going to touch on this, and then I'm gonna let you guys go. But rolling out just means if I could just make it short, water it down, it's just posting, basically. What you post, how you post, where you post. To create the narrative, to once again create the price. Once again, show people you can solve a problem, create an atmosphere, and how much is it worth for you to solve your problem with the music that I make? Is your thoughts to the consumer. We have to think like this because, like I said before, we're using the music as a leverage to sell something else. You know what I'm saying? And we're there's all types of ways, but it comes to a feeling because people will that pay for feelings. You know what I'm saying? For a change in mindsets. Happens all the time, right? Like I said before, if you need specifics on what your bill looks like, or even more of this, you can leave a comment or you can do a free consultation. Class is dismissed. I love you guys. Be blessed.